Welcome to Love You Bro podcast. I am your host, Jude, and as I do it every week, I'm with my baby brother.
What it do?
What's up, bro?
How are you, man?
Man, we have a special guest on set tonight, man. We always appreciate our guests so much for taking time out of their schedules and their days. I don't care what field they come in or what sport they come in Kansas City. I know your schedule is always crazy. So thank you, Jillian Carroll, for joining Love You Bro podcast tonight.
Yeah,
JC, thank you so much.
Thank you so
excited
much.
to have you here.
I know, I'm excited to chat with you guys. I feel like I know both of you in very different kind of seasons of my life.
Yes.
So it's cool to be
Yes.
here with both of you.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out. We're going to kind of dive into a little bit about Jillian Carroll, about, your high school days at Aquinas. You were a top flight soccer player. I know that for a fact. So I want to talk a little about your high school and your college, and then just the whole getting into everything you've done in Kansas City. We got so much to talk about though. The women's sports at KC Current. God, you guys at the Current are just killing it right now.
They're
Killing
doing the
it.
thing. They're doing the thing at a really cool venue with an incredible fan base.
Right.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
So we're gonna get into that, but let's jump right now. Let's start back with Jillian Carroll, high school Aquinas soccer. Kind of tell us about a little
You
bit
were there
about-
just like, 3 years ago?
Like a couple years ago. A couple years ago.
Yeah. So I want to go into that because I want to talk about how when you were in high school at Aquinas getting recruited, all that kind of stuff, to how it kind of correlates to where women's sports is now and the current, all that stuff. So let's just go back to when you were playing at Aquinas.
Yeah.
What was that like being recruited? Because I know you were a top player at Aquinas in women's soccer. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, I went to Aquinas for soccer.
Okay.
So I was a public school kid. My family, that's how we were. We went to the Blue Valley schools. We were out in Leawood.
Okay.
But I, always had ambition to play soccer. All of us, all five of us, I'm one of five, were super active, every sport, you name it. I mean, I played tackle football. I was the only girl. I had
Stop.
to,
You played tackle football?
I had to write my dad a letter as to why it would be a good decision, why it would help me be an all-around athlete, and I had to convince him that
That's
I could
amazing.
play. So then I play. One
Okay.
year, I break my elbow, and I'm and he's like, okay, and you're done. I'm like, yes, done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Noted.
Lesson learned.
But yeah, just really, I feel really blessed to have come from a sports family. So public school from the jump, and then after just voicing lots of ambition, I was probably a very annoying little child. I wanted to play soccer in college. That's what I wanted to do. Of
course.
And where we were, we had an opportunity. I had an opportunity to play at Aquinas, which was a historically successful school, specifically, actually both men and women.
Right.
But yeah, I wound up there, and it's an interesting situation when you go from public school to a Catholic high school, when most of the Catholic high school students come from Catholic grade schools.
Yes.
So I walked in there like, hi, don't know anybody, I'm Jillian, let's be friends. And I'm grateful for that.
Sure,
I
of
learned a
course.
lot. You're high school, you're so awkward and everything. But anyway, I found the best way to find my community was through sports. So
Right.
was really blessed and had incredible coaches leading up to high school. So when I got to Aquinas, I was able to fight my way onto the varsity squad.
Right.
And so again, we're just really, really lucky that I had that opportunity to prove myself and do so. And we won state my freshman year. We won state my sophomore
Whoa.
year.
Hanging up
we were
banners there.
rolling. I know, we were rolling. And then it got to the point where I was the upperclassman, and then we didn't win state. And it was
Right.
what?
Yeah.
This is when it's supposed to happen.
Of course.
So yeah, it was tough. I was a unique age or class, if you will. We had incredibly strong classes before me and after me. And ours was great. Shout out
Right,
to my
yeah.
homies, but we fell off a little bit. So that was hard. But again, had excellent club experience. And that's when the recruiting process was based off of your club.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, you did mention, Jude, the comparison to today, it's so different. The
Right.
recruiting, everything.
Nowadays, you play club and you don't play for your high school team, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of frowned upon.
So it's just one of those things where it's there's so many amazing leagues.
Right.
First and foremost, ECNL is a new league. It's not new anymore, but it is one of the newer. There's also something called the DA. There's also, on the men's side, we've chatted a little bit about sporting the academy players.
Yes.
So those are all pipelines to pro. On the women's side, it is ECNL, and that is not the only way, but it is a very competitive league. It is a
Right.
very good way to be seen by colleges across the U.S.
Okay.
By national team recruiters.
Okay.
So yeah, the system has changed a lot. But coming back to me, I had a great competitive club situation. I did play in the Olympic development program as well, which is a pipeline to the national team, but my legs weren't set up that way just yet. So
Right.
had a blast, had a really good time representing my state and my region, never made it national. But at that time, we didn't have NWSL. We didn't have a professional opportunity here in
Right.
the States. And so unless you were Abby Wambach, Alex Morgan,
Sure.
I had a ceiling. I didn't necessarily have my sights set on like, oh, there's a pro team in Kansas
Right.
City. Like,
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm going to try out. Like,
Sure.
Right.
we just didn't have that.
Yeah.
So, but I've worked my butt off and I got exactly what I wanted. I played Division I soccer. I went from Aquinas to Northern Iowa.
Okay.
UNI.
Okay.
I was studying you today, and I saw Northern Iowa, and I was like, a bit of my heart fell on the floor being a KU fan and having the kid.
A Leaf
take.
Rockmanish.
Yes, yeah, exactly. See, I didn't even want to try that, but you did
she
that.
knew exactly
three.
who he was. She just said
Yes,
his
and I
name.
remember
She
watching on the edge of the couch. I'm
bouncing
like, this
right
kid
out.
is not stepping back when he could take it to the hole and just drain it. And I just,
Right.
You know
think
where I was?
slid.
I was at Power and Light. I was at Johnny's watching it with like a handful of UNI people. I mean, we had bottles being thrown at us. It was like,
Sure.
because it was so gutsy / arrogant to take that, and
Yes.
then he made it.
Yes.
And I knew as soon as it left his hand, I'm
as
like,
soon as he released it.
I go, the net's not going to move. I'm like that, the way that kid, and the big 7-footer you guys had. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm getting off track. Back. So back to
Yeah.
going. So, but to start your recruiting, when did you start getting recruiting, or
Sure.
when did you start getting contacted when you were?
Yeah, it's a good, and again, in comparison to today, it's so different. But I would say, so in like 6th grade is when I started playing, for like Olympic development. So that is a program that it's like an elective. Like you have to try out and you make your state team. And then if you make the state team, you go to regional camp. If you make the regional camp, so on and so forth. And so I was making the state team from like probably 6th grade. And again, like the commitment that my parents had to have, the sacrifices that they had to make. I'm one of 5 kids. We were
Right.
all
Yes.
very active. Like I still to this day don't know how my mother did it.
Yeah, that's a load. 5
No,
going. That's a load.
And I'm talking all of us in 5 to 7 sports.
Right.
Like I don't know how she
Yeah,
did
that's
it.
a
Well,
lot.
it's funny you ask.
lot.
It's funny because I wanted to ask you. It's a kind of a personal thing, but because my little ones, they're 6 and 5. So obviously, Minnie started off playing, and their first year she was not terrible. Like she was like kind of aggressive, and so
Not
we go.
terrible.
But we go just
bunch ball, you can only do
yes.
so much.
So we go to some park. So the following year, Teddy's able to play. So we signed Teddy up, and then Mom gets the email, and she's like, I do not want to spend 3 different time frames
Yeah.
out at, which is a lot, obviously.
It's hard.
So she's like, we get him on the same team. And so when I talked to Nick Garcia, he was like, the reason we do this, he was like, is because when they're teammates, they tend to like, or sisters or brothers and sisters stay together.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think we'll be okay. Well, the first game, Minnie's on the field first, and then they like call Teddy in, so she's sitting on Mom's lap and like in Capri Suns, and
Right,
whatnot.
orange slices.
So she runs on the field, and then next thing I know, her and Minnie are in the net and like rolling around. It's like, okay, like. So my question is like an advice that you give to parents that like when because it's such a dedication from a parental standpoint, and obviously yours or the person playing, but like there's so many parents that spend so many dollars on academies and camps and basketball, and it's like, when would you suggest like it's not worth it? Like play and have fun, but don't take it to that point where essentially there's like could be up to $100,000 like spent in your childhood to know that you're never going to have that opportunity. And when is it like, obviously you never want to kill your baby's dream, but like it's not going to happen, but also like, when do you, it's like, sweetie, let's,
it's such a real question, a real thing. And like so many kind of like branches could come off of that tree as far as when do you specialize? Like, is the investment worth it? Siblings, for example. I'll put my coaching hat on now for a second because I did coach for a very long time too. I am, and also athlete hat as well, I suppose, but I am of the mindset of like, do not specialize until you are at least a teenager.
Sure.
That's
great. That's great to know.
I'm saying like high school if possible. Now you have to like peel back the layer a little bit, because if you know your child, you know the sacrifices and commitment your family's able to make. If there is ambition to, play in ECNL club games, so your club games, your weekend matches, we have Shields, we have Swope.
Right.
Those games are a flight away.
Right.
So you're not playing, out south, up north,
course,
like you're
yes.
hopping on a flight.
Yeah.
Right.
And so to the, the commitment financially is massive. And so I think it's like you have to know your child.
Yeah.
You have to understand and try to get a feel for, like you mentioned, being supportive, but also being realistic. And then I think, you know, for myself, I did every sport, like I've said 100 times,
Sure.
but I think my parents really allowed me to let them know where I wanted to spend my
Sure.
time. And it was always asking to play more soccer games or
Yeah.
play this team, play with a tournament,
Sure.
or play with a friend's team in a tournament. So for me, it was just a matter of, you know, I was really lucky. Like I had 3 brothers. They beat my ass all
Yeah.
the time,
Right,
like
sure.
all
Yes.
the time. So like I was
Tough
good
of
at
you
sport.
and like, yeah, I mean,
But
that's
so I was like pretty good at
Sure.
most sports, you know.
Of course.
But when it was like I'd rather choose soccer over softball, or
Yeah.
I would, you know, I'd rather do that than track. Like I think for a parent, which I'm not yet, but as far as a coach, I think you got to know your child and see what they're wanting to spend their time in.
Yeah. And it's a great point. So Mo Williams, he's ex-NBA. He's got a pretty popular podcast, really cool. I listen to it all the time. But just recently, LeBron came out, and a guy who is worked so hard and essentially was a kid early in high school, wasn't LeBron until he took down forget the kid from New York, but he absolutely took it to him and became a name that LeBron was going to be LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously he's got Bronny, and then he's got his youngest coming up, and they all go to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But he says this developmental system now breaks kids down, and it kind of washed them out. And so Mo Williams was on his podcast, and he's like his fourth grader is a kid. He's
Fourth
like,
grade.
yes, he's an absolute. He's like he's a dog. He's a killer.
Yeah.
He's like, but. He goes, as far as like going and playing other kids, fourth graders in other cities and doing that, he goes, you can develop and work on your stuff playing against fourth grade kids in your area.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this movement now, these guys that played in all of these AAU systems and all of this stuff as young age and getting broke down. He's like, they burn out.
Yeah.
He goes, they burn out now. He goes, I think it's great when people like Mahomes is not Mahomes if he doesn't play basketball and baseball.
And baseball, I mean, he
You
could
know,
have gone
he's
pro
not.
either, right?
But,
Like,
these kids getting so young of playing, if you're a basketball player and you're playing 150 games a year as a 6th, 7th grader, and you're showcasing, there's so much pressure. And I think, a big thing LeBron said is just about being able to be a kid, which you take the kid element out of it, because now you're just kind of a number, you're at these academies.
in a system, you're a
you're
cog,
1156, it's on your thing. And your family, you don't get to spend time with your family. It's such that some of that's so valuable in life in general. So it's interesting, like I said, to hear your story and hear, the hours and dedication that you put into, and, what's the right choice. And obviously it's different for everyone else, but to hear these guys that went through it.
And they've made it to the top.
Yes.
I would also put, just as far as the child anatomy, your body needs to be doing different movements. You don't need to only train basketball or only train soccer. You need to be doing other things. I would say mentally, psychologically, you need other voices coming at you.
Sure.
You need a male, a female, all the things, you know what I mean?
Right.
And different games present different decision making. And obviously, like the mental side of the game, no matter what game it is, that's big, right?
Sure.
And so, in my opinion, again, the minute you specialize, you limit your child. But on the flip of it, I'm like arguing with myself, because I know when I was like, no, bro, I'm playing soccer.
Yeah.
Like, I just knew.
But I think that's that point, though, as a parent, you let your kid play. To me, you let them play the 2 or 3 sports that they want to. Like you said, when you come to your parents and say, okay, like I know what I want to do now. Like I want to do soccer.
Yeah.
Because I just don't like these guys that try to pinhole these kids, and they try to pigeonhole them to be like, if you want to be a football player, you've got to play 24/7 all year round. And I don't like that. Because you talk to other coaches that say they need to play football, basketball, baseball, like you said, and play all the different sports, different coaches, different. And I think that's what's made Mahomes for sure what Mahomes is.
Now,
Yes?
Jillian, when you were like, okay, soccer's my jam, this is maybe my go-to. Was there a sport that you liked more, but you knew your ceiling wasn't as high at soccer? You're like, look, I like to hoop.
That's a good question. I mean, I genuinely I loved football.
Yeah.
And so much of it was I wanted to be my brother. My big brother legitimately was like one of the most athletic human beings I've ever met in my life. I loved it. We watched it a lot. But I would say, gosh, I also loved softball. Like we were traveling all the time for softball. I don't know. That's a hard question for me. I'm also like throw a wrench in it. Like I was a very competitive cheerleader.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, of course.
I traveled for that too.
Right.
So like everything I did,
Your
I
poor
loved.
parents, man. They didn't get
I'm
any
telling
sleep.
you. I'm telling you. And I mean, I have to just shout out my mom too and the other moms because I just remember down to a T, like we had training and like you could not be late to training and you could not miss training.
Right.
Well, my mother had, like I said, 5 of us. She probably needed to be at 4 places at once. They like concocted this incredible carpool where like we all would meet at 1 and like, okay, Tuesdays, like, okay, Jillian's mom is driving. Wednesdays, Tara's mom is driving. Like, and it was, I mean, moms are amazing, but it was just the things that they had to do. But to come back to your question, I think I would have been happy playing softball. I think I would have been happy. I was happy to put track behind me.
Sure, track what you're
But
doing.
in basketball for me, like I never really like loved it. You
Right.
know, I liked being good at things and I liked playing.
Right.
You like playing in the neighborhood. But yeah, I think soccer, I just knew for me. And it was just one of those things where I found success. I found that free feeling and I found a place where I would just, I'd always wanted to be there.
Sure.
Right.
Your 1 year in football, how was that?
Yeah.
How was that like? How was that accepted from?
Yeah, good question.
Like, as far as like your parent, like your parents, like, is she really doing this?
Yeah.
Is what's happening? And
It's
like,
so funny because, and that was a long time ago. I'm like, oh, but like girls, we weren't encouraged to do hard things just yet.
Sure. Right,
And
no.
except for in my house, because we were a military family and I was expected to do all the hard things that my brothers are expected
Right.
to do. You know what I'm saying? But I think it was, I think my mother was probably the one that was most least surprised by it. I think my dad went into like a little bit of a protection mode. Like I said, he made me write the letter,
Yeah.
but that was
Right.
also him just
very military.
for sure. But
Right.
also just like, okay, fine. Like you're going to prove a point. Well, like say it with your whole chest. Like
Sure.
give me the reason why,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
And so, and my family and people who knew me, like I was just an athlete. That's what I did. The boys on the team, it took a minute.
For sure. I can
handful
only
of
imagine.
them.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. Okay, so shout out to FCCJC out at Heritage Football.
Yeah.
That's where we play.
Okay.
Sure.
They had lightweight and heavyweight.
Yeah.
So I was clearly lightweight. I was a little thing.
Yes.
But I was a cheerleader for the heavyweight team.
This
so
is awesome.
I would run
Oh my
my little butt from cheerleading, like
This is amazing,
legit
sure.
cheering one game. And my mom was just like, make it happen. Like pack your bag, go to the bathroom, get your stuff.
Jay, oh my
and I
gosh.
would run and I would like put away my skirt and
Yeah.
I would put on my my sports stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
that is so awesome.
and
That is such a cool
so-
story, though. I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, like there were some players on my team, like we were good.
Right.
And like I said, it took a minute for all of them to like accept me.
Sure.
Right.
And once but that's the beauty of sports. Like you just go in the field,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
and you do what you can do,
Yes.
or you
Yes.
don't.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I mean, I was rough and tough. I was faster than a handful
Yeah.
of them. I was, I could play. And so, although it took a little while, they eventually were like my brothers.
Yeah.
They
No,
were
I
cool.
absolutely love that. I think that is so cool. I think that's a great story. I love that.
It was
Absolutely.
a little wild, but
Yeah.
that's me.
So how cool is it right now to see a girl like Najari Kennedy, the pitcher from Texas Tech? How
Oh,
cool
gosh.
is it from a women's standpoint
Yeah.
to know what you went through when you were growing up,
Yeah.
getting recruited, doing all that, to seeing somebody finally get paid $1 million? She's the first
insane.
woman softball player to be paid $1 million for 1 year. She's coming back next year.
Yeah.
I saw they signed a pitcher and NIL from UCLA that was 21-4 this year. That's coming to join Texas Tech.
I mean, they're gonna be unstoppable.
I mean, but
They
how?
were
But
pretty darn close last
how
time.
cool is that though to see?
Yeah, it's insane. And to be honest, that brings like
So
a
long overdue.
whole nother like just NIL in general.
Right.
Is like it was so jarring to a Division I athlete who nobody was gonna give an NIL to.
No.
Let's be honest.
No.
I was at UNI playing women's soccer,
Right.
which whatever. But the whole concept in general is wild. But then to see the amazing emphasis put on the female side,
Yes.
like, and it's all merit based. It's all like the stats. Like, look at her performances. Like,
Yeah.
I think some of them have to do a little bit with the whole marketing scheme in general,
Right.
and women are always going to be put in that category. And I actually think some men are right now too.
Sure.
I mean, these kids, these students are just walking brands. And so, but to your point, like, it's amazing. It is incredible. And I think more people need to be talking about it. Like there's a women's soccer player, Naomi Girma, was just the first player to be transferred overseas.
Right.
$1 million baby. That's what I'm calling
Yeah.
her. Like it's incredible. It's about time. And it's just really exciting,
Yeah.
you know?
It's-
Like, we're just getting started.
It's like, and it's so, to me, it's so long overdue, and it's so cool now, you know, from obviously everything that your operation and the current are doing. It's so cool because it's in our backyard. And you know, I think we've discussed this before. Angie and I went to high school together.
No,
Courtney,
oh my gosh.
We're SHEnanigans Lancers, class of 93.
Yes.
Courtney Mira Conkle, who built the stadium, her
Yeah.
company, was a class of 93 at SHEnanigans.
Impressive.
So they're Lancers. We had
incredible.
So last year we had, which would have been our 30, it was 31.
Okay.
But when our 30th was going to be
aging
December ago.
yourself
I know.
bad,
Wow. You don't have to look. I have a lot of gray. Angie was like, let's wait a year and we'll do it next year. So I'll remember forever because it was so cool. Because I'm so proud of what, not only knowing them and being classmates of them, but being a part of the city and what it means globally for what it means is coming across, you know, the river and just seeing this giant Lancer on the scoreboard and being like, this
Very
is so real, surreal.
That's very
you know, before we had it like Rio or Cafe
Right.
Rio, some
Like,
bullshit like
somewhere down the web, right?
yeah, exactly, which is great. And it was great. That was a great one, but it's really cool. But even so, that's really awesome. Like the WNBA, like
Yeah, killing it.
I really have gotten into it in the last like year, and obviously a little bit with Caitlin, but just I kind of enjoy it, and I enjoy what they're trying to do, and it's a better game, and it's like you know, down to, you know, like you look past in the last 5-10 years of the NBA, a huge part of that was like what drip they're coming in with.
Yep.
And now it's like the women's game. It's like, you know, one of my favorites, Sophia Cunningham. I'm like, she's the drippiest of drip.
Yes.
I'm just like,
I love it.
She was
Lord.
my first podcast guest.
Was she
Shut
really?
the front
She
door.
kicked off my podcast.
Oh my God.
And it was the week that she was traded.
That is
It was
awesome.
like,
I love
yes,
that.
Thank you, God. It
That
was like
is-
so
Yes.
perfect.
Yes, and she's from Columbia,
cool.
right?
Well,
Or
she is so cool. She is Columbia born and raised.
You can, I mean, dude, and she's
She is so cool.
We're going to get into your podcast here. Look, we're going to get into your
But
podcast
Sophie
here a little bit.
She is very cool.
yeah.
That is
you
so
can tell,
awesome.
and she is so
Did she go to
nonsense.
Mizzou? Did she go to Mizzou?
Mizzou, yeah.
She went to Mizzou?
She's so
Dallas
swaggy.
All-American, like
Yeah.
she could play, and
And,
she's
yeah.
still doing it. And
Yeah.
I'm happy for her to be in the system she's in now because I think her skill sets will just be elevated and showcased a little bit more. But to your point, it's not just Caitlin Clark, it's not just Angel Reese. It's really a movement. But I will stand on Sue Bird's comment that the talent had been there.
Yes.
People weren't watching.
100%.
You know, and we
Talent
were
had been
seeing
there.
it.
And we were lucky enough as we had Hootie Girl, Andrea Hootie, who's a dear friend of mine. Hootie
No
Girl.
way.
She was on our show.
Hootie Girl for life. I love her so
Dude,
much.
where is she now?
She's
UConn.
back with UConn. She just won the
UConn.
women's
Okay,
national.
She just
yes.
won the women's national title.
So,
Yeah.
but you know, we talked about, you know, and she's been around because she was with that first run with you know, when they had Sue Bird and when they had like, and then obviously she came to Kansas and did what she did in Kansas and went to
Right.
Texas for a year, and then it was back with Gino in.
Okay,
you
I
know,
lost her after Texas.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you know, that's what she said. She goes, it's always been there. But
It's
what
always
I
been there.
love is like there's personalities that I enjoy. Kelsey Plum.
Yo,
Love her
she's
on and off the court.
dope, yeah.
Love her on. Love how she conducts herself. Love how she carries herself. And it's just like, I want to have pink bubbles with her and like bullshit and pick her mind. Like she's cool and like you can tell like how good she is, how competitive she is, and it's so good. It's so good, and it's like it's what people thought of the WNBA 10 years ago when it was kind of like ho hum. It's like there's attitude. There's like, you know, they get after each other, and it's like it's fun to watch. And
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
The talent was there, but I want to go back to something you just said about Sue Bird. The talent was there, but let's not kid ourselves. Caitlin Clark,
Oh,
she's that person.
Yeah.
I mean, if you saw her for her game back yesterday, she comes back. She missed 5 games
Yeah,
from a
Saturday.
quad injury.
She was like, I'm back.
Yeah, she comes back. 32 points.
In the
I mean,
first half?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
buried 3 threes in a row where she just came across half court and just released it.
Distance,
Like
yeah.
3 in a row. And it's like she was unconscious. And I'm like, I still am just mesmerized by watching her, how she handles the ball,
it's
how
awesome.
I mean, she has brought so much to the WNBA, but and not taking anything away from them because there was all that talent there before,
There was.
and it sucks that they weren't getting the viewership and they weren't getting the people in the stands. So if it's Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese that bring some of this, let's do it.
But
Let's
you know,
do it.
But
Like, let's,
you know
let's,
what? I'm
they
a
deserve it.
sneaker guy, and I don't have like sneakers from 20 years ago, like in Glasgow. I like what I like.
Sure.
And in the past 3 or 4 years, Sabrina's made some of the hottest
I was gonna say,
sneakers.
Sabrina, do you
She's
have any
made,
yet?
yes, a
I
couple.
don't.
I have
don't.
I have the Oregon green and yellows, and then
Okay.
I have the pink with black that are so fly. They're really cool, and I'll wear them with whatever. But once again, being a sneaker guy for as long as I have, if you would have said 10 years ago, like you're gonna be rocking some women's shit, I'll be like.
Yep.
come on, man.
Right.
GTFO with that. There's too many men. Because it wasn't about
It just
that
wasn't a
action.
thing.
Yeah.
It just wasn't, there was nobody
yeah.
asking for it. There was nobody, just getting any hype around anything.
Yeah.
But now there's also Asia Wilson.
Yes.
She has hers as well.
Yeah,
Does Angel have a shoe now?
I
I
don't
feel
think
like
so.
it's coming if she
yeah,
doesn't.
she's coming shortly. But what was also cool is that back in the day, and it was I can say this, it was dad, being a dad, a girl dad.
Yeah.
Kobe was so out in front of that movement.
He
and
was a
Kobe
huge
brought,
piece of it.
Kobe brought so much of it, but it wasn't bullshit and just, I'm going to sit here. He was invested in these ladies.
Of course.
And he was invested in once again, the Sabrina, he appreciated and knew that not only did she have game, but she had marketability. It's like, you need to get out here because you deserve all of it. You deserve all of the cameras for your swag, the way you play the game. You're drippy. You're like all of this. And it was really big and cool to me back, before this was.
Yeah.
So I think he was such he was such an advocate and such someone that helped get it to where it is. And it'll continue to grow and it'll continue to be, speaking of soccer, for the longest time, and I still think to this day, for me personally, and this may sound bad, but I always enjoyed watching women's soccer and the United States women's soccer way more than I like.
That's
and it was
because we win.
Exactly, 100%.
That's big.
But
Actually, the men just won the other day. So.
And once again, but all of the women were so much more marketable and cool and swaggier and just all of their shit, like how they looked and how they pink hair, cool shit, like how they'd wear their warm-ups and shit. I'd be like, God, I fuck with all of them. They're so cool.
They're pretty cool.
And the men's teams kind of didn't have personality, and they're just like it to me personally.
It's different. It's different.
Yeah, and I may be way off the spectrum on that, but to me, I was like, I would know when all of the women's stuff was going to break down, who was playing, who was not playing. I did. It was just more exciting to me. So it's just, it's cool to where everything's at now. And, like I said, you're a big key cog in this city about it. And it's like everyone knows you from all the work you're doing at Sporting, which is awesome. And I can't wait to dive into that more. I can't wait to dive into that.
We're busy. There's lots of things happening. That's one thing with the Longs, that they want it done. They're going to do it, and they're going to do it quick.
Yes.
I love it.
But they're also going to do it with the right people around them.
Of course.
They're going to uplift everyone, the city, the athletes, the staff.
There's no one really hotter to me in the country than what they're doing right now. And obviously Patrick and Brittany are a big part of it. And they do such a great job of all of the NFL guys were there this weekend.
Yeah, it was fun. We had Andy Reid, we had the Chiefs rookies. And Brittany Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes, which is cool.
And they kind of make a tradition. Did that last year with the rookies.
Which I think that's a nod to the team. I think shout out Chiefs for valuing the game enough to be your rookie outing.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes. And I think it's such a different they if once again you can look out the windows here and you'll see the current.
I was going to say you can't not see teal.
The current it's just, and the Longs are so they're out in front of it, and they just know that surrounding themselves with the right people, and they're just so smart, and they're so innovative, and they're so cool, and they're so hip with being super buttoned up and super professional. And that's why they're right now, I don't think there's a hotter brand, a hotter label.
No, Kansas City was just valued top 5
in women's sports.
Women's sports. There was one other United States NWSL team, which was Angel City, and they are doing really big things as well.
Right.
But I'll also bring up that Angie Long will stand by this, saying they were the first to build a purpose-built stadium for a women's sports team, but they will not be the last.
Right.
And that's very important to her.
That's
and
very
so
important.
I think that speaks volumes as to her motivation and what we can expect.
Yeah. And I think that, I think there will be a WNBA team here in the next 5 years. I'm just there's enough people that'll make that happen. And
I hope so,
once
too.
again, I think there will. And I think that whether it's a couple blocks from where we are now, but I think it will be a thing here. And I
really
think
hope
that.
so.
I told Jamie, I said, hey, I want you to reach out to Ashley Long, or is Ashley? Angie, sorry. Angie, too, because I want to do a Love You Bro podcast at a current game. I really
that'd be
do.
so cool.
Yeah.
Because we've talked to Sporting, and Sporting's like, hey, you guys can come on,
Yeah.
do a podcast for one of our game days.
Yeah.
And we want to do some more stuff with the current, because I am huge, always have been, into women's soccer, softball. The sweatshirt you have to the left over there
Yes.
that is for Ashton Maloney. the right fielder for the women's team at the University of Texas that won the national
and it's
championship.
the right color.
She played right field. She's from Liberty High School, Kansas
Oh,
City.
fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, that's hilarious. Well, not hilarious, ironic. I just had a girl on my podcast this morning from Liberty North.
Okay.
And she's at Mizzou right now, but she played for Casey Diamonds. Did you
Okay.
hear about the women's team
Yes.
that was here over the
Billy
weekend?
Butler
Billy
involved.
Butler is a
Yes,
part of the coaching
yes.
staff. Monica Abbott is an iconic Olympic
Yes,
softball player.
yes.
But she went to Liberty North. So
Okay.
shout out Liberty
Yes,
softball.
absolutely.
It's happening. 100%.
Yeah. So
I love
Ashton
that.
will be on our show next Monday. She
Very
comes in town
cool.
Saturday. It's really cool. I reached out to her and she was like, I really don't want to dial in. I kind of want to be on set. I said,
that's awesome.
give us a day. So she'll be on Monday. Hey,
Let's
listen,
wrap up here, and
We're
then
gonna
we'll come
we're gonna go to our little special ad break that we do, and then we'll be right back in a few minutes. But we want to get more in the current, everything doing, and we can't thank you enough for being on tonight.
Oh, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate
All right, we'll be back. Guys, we'd like to thank our resident sponsor, Proactive Solutions. They've been with us from day one. They allow us, Love You Bro podcast, to get to do what we do each and every week, and that's bring you a new episode with new guests. So a big shout out to Dean and Natalie Thede at Proactive Solutions. Proactive Solutions has been delivering infrastructure solutions and IT design and consultation services to clients ranging from startups to Fortune 100 companies for more than 27 years. They are proud to be a Kansas City locally owned and a top woman-owned business, offering custom solutions and personalized support. So thank you to Proactive Solutions, Dean and Natalie. If you guys are interested and your company needs some IT solutions, reach out to Proactive Solutions at www.proactivesolutions.com. We have two great resident sponsors that really help us here at Love You Bro Podcast and allow us to do what we get to do week in and week out. Lula's Southern Cookhouse, Bradley and Brittany Gilmore, owners of Lula's. It's at 1617 Main Street. If you have not been down here, please come down on a Sunday and have brunch. Great wait staff, great bartenders. The ownership team with Bradley and Brittany Gilmore are just fantastic people, and they allow us to do what we get to do in this amazing event space at Lula's Southern Cookhouse. Welcome back to Love You Bro Podcast. Before we jump into more stuff with Jillian Carroll, I just want to give a little shout out to my guys from Arkansas. I'm kind of riding with Arkansas in the series.
Yes.
And we have some really good friends down in Arkansas. And obviously they've beaten up on our Jayhawks numerous times in every sport. But every year for the World Series, I go down. Last 15 years, we've been going since we were little kids. But, last 15 years, I pick a school, jump on it. I was just looking at my closet today. I've got hats from LSU, Florida, South Carolina, Notre Dame.
So every year it's a new team?
Yes,
year-
and Mighty
every year.
Jillian, so I don't listen to this shit. I'm just like, okay,
No,
who it
no,
is.
hold on, Jillian. No, hold on.
And I have friends that will. It takes up part of my day because they're texting like, "What's your brother on, dude?" He's an Arkansas fan now. And I go, to his credit, he does kind of pick a team before they go to the World Series, but. Yes, it happens to be the team that's riding the momentum that
Right.
has captivated the country.
100. So last year I get there.
At least you own it.
Yeah, of course. I do the same thing every year. It's not like I just all of a sudden started doing this. So last year I go buy my Tennessee hat. I go, and of course he's like, well, of course Tennessee's ranked number one, blah, blah. I'm like, I love some of their players. I love some of their kids. So I always go Wednesday and Thursday. Those are the elimination days before they get to the final round.
Okay.
So I go every Wednesday, Thursday, every year. So I get there. I'm in the bar right across the street, Rocco's Pizza, right across the street from the stadium. I'm sitting there, and I have my Love You Bro podcast T-shirt on. So this lady turns around. She's like, hey, what is that? I was like, oh, we just started this podcast in Kansas City, blah, blah. She goes, my son's played for Tennessee 4 years, Xander Seacrest. He's never pitched in the World Series. He's starting an elimination game today against Texas A&M, left-hander. So I was a left-handed pitcher. So, of course, immediately I'm like drawn to Tennessee,
guy.
left-hander.
Yeah.
This is a kid that's fought a bunch of adversity to get where he is. Goes and he shuts Texas A&M out.
Nice.
So watch him throw, exchange numbers with them. During the game, they literally, they're like, where are you? And we're like, we're on the third base side. They're like, no, come over to the Tennessee side. So there I am, in the Tennessee fan section, high-fiving Christian Moore's dad, who Christian Moore just got moved up to the Angels. That kid's blowing up.
Nice.
So I'm talking with parents, taking pictures, and he's like, dude, are you serious? And all of a sudden, you're Rocky Top now. You're all of a sudden just the middle of Knoxville. And I'm like, listen, this is
The
awesome.
mayor of Knoxville now.
So-
Next year, the mayor of Arkansas.
Listen, we were
Exactly,
taking
man.
pics, doing all this stuff, and Xander came on our podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
He started the national
Total
championship.
stud.
Yeah,
Total stud,
He
man.
started the national championship game and won. He won
That's
the national
very
championship.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very cool. And I love the connection. The story's fun.
No,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
no,
just
and
about being a fan.
and so when he came back and he had these connections, I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, hey, Xander's gonna jump on. So I kind of started doing some research on Xander, and I mean, he very big personality, but very not like off the rails personality, but just kind of big. Once again, really handsome kid.
Yeah, right,
really handsome kid. And, but he came on, jumped on, was super enthusiastic, super fun, and it was cool. So that was like, okay, so if he can do this, repeat this magic again.
So you'll accept the fandom change.
Well, and I know he does. Yes,
results in a guest.
I know he does. I know he does do this, and it's kind of, I'm a Laker guy in the NBA. Blackhawks in the NHL, but if there's an NBA team or someone I like, he's like, who do you like in this series? And I'll be like, I don't know. I go, I guess I F with the T-Wolves. He's like, okay, I'm rooting for whoever it is against.
Right,
just to
yeah.
purposely get after me.
We've done that. We've done it for years. I loved Notre Dame way back in the day, and of course he was like, I like Michigan.
Right.
Like, who do you know from Michigan?
But, like,
How do you
why?
like Michigan? Yeah, but that's been us. We're 5 years apart.
That's brothers.
Yeah, we're 5 years apart, and this is how this whole thing started. My wife, in the morning, we'd get up. Every morning, we'd get up, and we were on the phone. So we're both on speaker, showering, getting ready, talking. And my wife has to listen to this, and she's like,
Poor thing.
every single day, you
Yes,
guys.
totally.
She goes, every single day, you guys go at it. You guys can mother F each other and everything else, and you hate this player, don't like this player, don't like this team. And she goes, at the very end of your conversation, no matter how the conversation went for 45 minutes, she's like, you guys always say, love you, bro. And then she starts your day. So that's how she was like, I think you guys should start a podcast.
Shout out to the wife.
Shout out to the wife. That's, my Jessica. That's how we started this whole thing anyway. But let's get back into where we were with you, getting recruited into college. Now, I know did you have a serious injury in high school or was it college when you hurt your knee?
So I was post-college.
Post-college.
Couldn't stop playing competitive soccer, playing in a men's league right here in Kansas City, and left my ACL on
Didn't you
the
learn
pitch.
from boys tackle
You'd think
football
so.
that Pop said do not
think
do
so.
that?
This was post-college you tore your ACL?
Yeah. How bad is that? Men's league. What?
Like on a Tuesday night, like
Men's league, I blew my ACL. Dang it.
Played Division One, like made it 6 years NFL.
Right.
Doing, training, pretty hard. And,
Of course.
Whatever.
And you know what real quick, what they say is like when you're competitive like that, it's hard to switch it off to like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and bullshit and like kick it around and it's like the competitive takes over, and next thing you know, you're slide tackling and you're making like
and you're 100% right on this. For me, it was I can play in that game. Like put me in that match.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Sure.
This big man was a little slower than it was a thing that he essentially stepped on my foot, kept my foot where it was, and I was turning. And so it was a collision. Some are non-contact, but it was just one of those.
But that's just that growing up playing with your brothers that you're like, I'm good. Yeah, I can
go.
do this.
Yeah,
I love it.
I can go. I can do
I
this.
love it.
But so I was very blessed to get through. I had little things here and there, but I was really lucky in regard to my collegiate career.
Okay, so you played soccer in college. So then what happened after college, soccer-wise?
So I graduated, and obviously, like we chatted about, there was no NWSL in Kansas City. I did have opportunities. I could have gone to Canada. I could have explored going overseas. I absolutely could have done those
Canada's
things.
cool. Vancouver's cool. It's like cool fashion.
Brittany Mahomes went over to Europe,
I was going to
correct?
say, and she's younger than I am, and there's still a situation. But yes, you're 100. She played professionally and had to leave to do it, and so that was a lot of her motivation to bring teams here. So players wouldn't have to do what she did. But so like I said, we at Northern Iowa, we had in our coaching tree, we had a Canadian woman, and so we had, I think in my 4 years, I think I played with at least 4 Canadian players. So when your teammates are learning and kind of figuring out their next steps, and you're interested in maybe playing with them or whatever, you become interested in the same things. So I explored that, but I wanted to start making money. I wanted to get home. I wanted to start my life, and so
start playing in men's league soccer.
I wanted to, be the bruiser at All American. No, you're right. But so, so I was really, I was an education major, and so I played my senior year, and then came home and did like my student teaching, and then always knew I was destined to be an educator. I talked quickly about this, but my mother's from humble beginnings of Queens, New York. My father's from the projects of the Bronx, and
That's amazing.
it's.
So are they Yankees, Mets through and through?
So
divided household?
I am Kansas City till I die, but I am the biggest Yankees fan.
Whoa! Okay.
My dad's
so last playoffs.
Yeah.
What's
I know.
your
I
jam?
walked in there with my Yankees hat on, and I'm like,
you went
with
to the
my
Cosmo
husband.
with your Yankees?
I did.
Oh,
And you're
I'm
such a
like-
key cog in Kansas City and like your show and like
I'm
everything's
like
like,
talking to him. I'm like, dude, what do I do? What do I do? He was like, you know, you're gonna wear the Yankees hat, and I'm like, I know, but I feel bad. And
No,
he's like,
good for you. Okay,
No, I
no.
did.
I love that.
As she's in front of the mirror like this with the Yankees hat, she's like, what
Yes.
should I do?
and I bet all of your drip was to fit your Yankees hat.
I was in my navy and white. I had some stripes,
Yeah.
but I mean, my dad's first job was at Yankee Stadium. My grandfather grew up in Harlem, and he had sisters that lived in his building, and the sisters dated Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron, and they
wow.
would come over and they would play baseball in the streets. So
This
like,
is
it's in my blood.
incredible. I cannot believe you're just putting this out now. I've been like, this is the story you
But
need to hear
it's
about.
hard because I am, you know, I'm just such a proponent for Kansas
Sure.
City, and
Right.
Kansas City made me who I am.
Yes.
And I had chances to leave, and I chose not to on
Sure.
purpose. And so it's hard for me, but it's also that's my family. My
that's your
brother
roots.
plus all extended family is there. But you know, it is what it is. But I brought it up to say, you know, my dad, legit, you know, he came from the projects, and what got him to Leawood, Kansas, to raise a family of 5 children, was the military and education. And so I knew forever and always I was going to go be an educator, and I was sought out a situation where strong educators were needed. And I went to a historically red line zip code in Kansas City, and I taught at the Derek Thomas Academy. It was a charter school,
Awesome. Great
which
for you.
did
That's awesome.
amazing things.
Super cool.
And unfortunately it closed, which was
Yeah.
really, really tough. But for about, I was there for 5 years. It did a lot of good.
Yes.
It did a lot of
That's
good.
awesome.
And those are,
for a
you know,
lot of people.
I love it. My little ones went to to Border Star.
Oh, yeah.
Which was, I
In
mean,
Brookside.
it's, yes, in Brookside. It's so incredibly cool. But I hate
charter
that
schools are special.
Yes, they are so incredibly special. And before, you know, having little ones, you don't really know. You kind of hear about them.
Yeah.
But you don't know how much dedication that you guys put in and the
Yeah.
heart of like what you're taking on. It's
the
not.
the girls love Border
You know,
Star.
I
They
went
love
to
being
Shawnee
over
Mission
there.
East. You went to, you know, class.
I lived in Leawood. I claim it like
you
I
know,
did.
it's not like those are a little bit a little
Yeah.
bit different.
I will
than
say-
what challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis.
1,000%. And I will say that, you know, I bring that up wholeheartedly, and kind of every opportunity I get, to be honest with you. We were raised in Leawood, but we were very educated on where my parents came from.
Right.
And we were very aware and educated on the incredible community we were in.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we were just aware.
Yeah.
So from teaching, it was great, and it challenged me, and it took everything out of me, and it changed me. I saw incredibly tough situations, and
Mm-hmm.
children dealt cards that nobody deserves,
Yes.
and they always showed back up. They
Yes.
kept showing up.
Yes.
And the resilience that those children displayed, you know, I had children coming to school consistently being abused and, you know, confiding in us to help the situation. I had a child come to school and had blood splattered all over after, you know, there was a shooting in his home in that morning. You see so much, and these children didn't choose to be born there.
No.
And
Yes, and it really that's you. It's so much deeper than, you know, this podcast. But there's like, you know, for me as an adult, I started later in my life having children, but going to, you know, Border Star and seeing a kid show up late and seeing his 75-year-old grandmother, who is the head of the house, taking them to school. It's sweet and heartbreaking all in one because that is who's responsible every single morning,
the kids,
night when they come home, and everything that encompasses, you know, that encompasses with that whole thing.
And, you know, in Kansas City, it's incredible, the support. You know, at Derek Thomas, we worked really closely with Operation Breakthrough.
Yes.
And they're incredible, and the resources are immense. But yeah, it's still a hard pill to swallow, and it is still a reality for children in Kansas City. So,
Yes.
really grateful for my my time there and the opportunity to be there. I taught third grade. I loved it. And
Good
then,
age.
Well, the best,
Yeah.
the best.
Good age.
But this school closed. Unfortunately, there were adult issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's tough when you're funded by specific private things, and then you get some state money, and then there's a board, and
Right.
I stayed far out of it.
Right.
But yeah, it's unfortunate. I think there were some difficulties. So
I love that you enjoyed your time there as much and talked about it as
my
passionately
God.
as you do.
You
that
know
is
what
the
is
sweetest,
crazy
coolest thing in the
now?
world.
I have like social media connects the world, and my former students are finding me.
I love
on
that.
social media,
I love that
and they
so
have
much.
kids,
And
or
how
they have,
I mean, your face right now is like
What?
glowing.
It is like you're smiling ear to ear.
Like it is
wild.
glowing. And it's so
No,
cool.
it's crazy,
That's awesome.
but it's also amazing at the same time to know that like they impacted my life, I impacted theirs. But
Sure.
So in talking about your teaching, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. No.
Talking about your teaching, obviously, I've always been a big Jillian Carroll fan.
Sure.
We met a long time ago when Jillian was a Chiefs cheerleader.
Yeah.
Through some mutual friends and stuff, and then kind of found out what I did and everything. But I want to go into following you on your social media as being a really, really intense soccer coach.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about your coaching with your girls, because I know.
Minnie, you might not want her to teach you
No,
soccer,
listen,
honey.
I'm telling you. But what I love
Listen,
about
we got it done, okay?
What I love it though is watching like some of the social media stuff that would come out. Just watching the look like in her eye, because you could tell like the passion of coaching was there. So I want to hear a little bit about that, because that's kind of cool.
It's so cool. Just the role of coach in general it's just such an honor. And soccer, the game, did so much for me in my life that I wanted to make sure that it continued to impact other little girls. So,
Right.
So I just said I left college, I came home, I started teaching. Well, the next year I started coaching, and so I had little 8-year-olds at the time, and they were wonderful. And we were talking a little bit about club soccer previously. There's something that I forgot to mention, but it's important. Kansas City does have really good options for whatever level you're at.
Sure.
If you want to play just to have fun and play, and you're on the weekends one day, you know, or if you're hopping on the flight, we have ECNL, we have it all. And so I started coaching, I would say somewhere like in the middle. And so we were a smaller club, and I had 8-year-olds, and it was so much fun. It was the first time I was away from the game since I was 4. I wasn't playing anymore except for men's league.
Sure,
But
You're poor me.
so it kept me around the game, and I loved it. And then, next thing you know, next year I took on another team, and it was just incredible. And so many, we just got married not too long ago, and I had some of them at my wedding.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Their
That's so
parents
cool.
at my wedding. Yeah.
And so your coaching philosophy, I can't even. So your coaching philosophy, but I bet you didn't even know what your brothers and dad had instilled in you that when you started coaching that came out, that you were just like, whoa.
It's wild. There was a level. There's so much about the environment that you grow up in.
For sure.
But then, we talked about it. Every single sport. It all impacts you, no matter how you are, and how your outlook and how you move in everything. So I was really, again, with that, I was always competitive, aggressive, hardworking. I was hungry for a goal or whatever it was, but I was also really lucky to play under incredible coaches.
Sure.
Yes.
And so I had Clayton Weems was like my club coach. Love him.
Shout out,
From
Coach.
England, came over, started a club. He was a teacher at Scion, and he started a club, and it was very competitive. And to be honest with you, like I wanted to be a teacher and a coach, and he clearly had a big impact on me.
That's
because
awesome.
of the way that he was.
Sure.
But yeah, so he was no nonsense. He was militant. He had high expectations. And as a coach, when you see a kid who you can push or has more to give or is your kind of player, you pick up on that. And so I think I was that way as a coach. I was no nonsense. Like, we're gonna be cute. And I didn't tell you this. I wore a yellow ribbon when I played soccer. My mother made it for me. It had my name on it.
And like paint pen?
Yeah, sure did. Blue puff paint. And it was my cheerleading ribbon, but I wore it in soccer. And I'll be so honest, like legitimately when I was being recruited, college coaches were like, the one with the yellow thing in her hair. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And then players because you play club with girls and they go to high school teams and then you play them in high school, so you're playing against your teammates, but they would try to rip it out, and so it just became, it was like my thing. But
I love that.
Imagine if the girls tried to rip that out of her hair.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
For sure.
And you were known as the yellow girl. Like, so your players that played with you were like, let's get it. We'll go get this thing.
They were annoyed by it. So, but I think that I brought a lot for the moms and dads who were bringing their 8-year-old daughter to tryouts.
Sure.
I think that I was just a probably pretty approachable, nice person, but I was educated on the game.
Sure.
And I could share with them what I wanted to do for their daughter. I was very organized. Like being a teacher is just kind of flows.
Kind of hand in hand, Kind of hand in hand.
So it was really good. And I had an incredible mentor coach. His name was Wolfie. He started the club that we were at, who gave me an opportunity. And so from there, it was just like, like I said, year 2 brought another team, and we never looked back. And we were known, like my teams were always going to be hardworking. You were going to show up. Your effort was going to be top notch. You were going to learn the game.
I guarantee you, from knowing you how I know you, you were kind of drippy on the sidelines, so you had a good at
Well, I had my yellow.
It wasn't like bullshit. Like, no, as a coach, you weren't like showing up. You like had your shit planned out what we're going to wear.
Well, I took great pride in, I think I actually remember this. In softball, there's certain every sport, specifically for littles, there's certain pieces of swag, like the headband or whatever it is, the socks. Right. Well, there was this phase where it was headbands. And so I specifically remember wearing a gold sparkly headband to a tournament, and we won. Yeah. And I remember holding this big old trophy with my gold sparkly headband, and I took great joy in defeating a man on the other side who probably knew the game and probably did a great job, but we won. I took great joy in that for sure.
Absolutely.
But I also was very aware of what I was doing for these girls. You can be cute and pretty and worry about your hair, but you can also be a dog on the field.
Sure, 100%, which is awesome.
That was my expectation. Yes. So it was great. And then, just the celebrations and the love I have to watch these girls grow up. Right. For example, I could shout out so many, but most prevalent as of late, Mary Long, Angie's daughter, was on my team for 4 years, and now she's playing professional soccer. Right? That's awesome. I get to say that I knew her when she was 8. And back then I was like, this girl's going pro. Yes. This girl she's legitimately one of the most competitive athletes I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of athletes. Right. Yeah. One of the most will gouge your eye out to win a ball, get out of her way. Yeah. And I'm so happy for her. She's with the national team, U20s. She's playing professional. So, bringing it back to coaching in general, I could name so many that I've seen. It's now the crop is, my youngest ones are now either graduating. I did spend about 4 years in Wichita, which I'm sure we'll get to career soon. Yes. But and I was able to coach there, and those girls are now all getting their scholarships and getting their, their. Awesome. It's so crazy. It's so cool. So it's I forever and always am just very grateful and honored for that. I think I coached for 14 years.
Yes.
It's so bad.
Any part of you want to coach high school or?
So that's the thing. Like I mentioned, I did go to Wichita and I coached in Wichita. Right. When I came home, I was heavy with the current immediately. Okay. So for me, I think, and I was on Channel 5 at the time. So doing both of those things, I couldn't have also coached. Right. However, I know myself, if I wasn't around the current, I would want to be back around the game.
I'm gonna see that. I'm gonna see it in your eyes. It's unfair. Like you said,
it's just that's how I was built. That's just how I operate. So.
After visiting with you for as long as we have known, I want to know about your podcast because I'm okay.
Tell us about your podcast,
because I'm a big podcast guy in general. I love them, and I'm okay, how come I didn't know? A, you had one. B, I'm on it tonight. The girls are gonna be weren't we just with her and listening to a bit? No, I want to know your podcast and how did you start? And this is awesome because you have such a great story and you tell such a good story. Oh, and obviously, sweet. It's awesome.
It's wild. So where I am now, and maybe just a tiny bit of backstory. After I did teach for about 5 years, the Eric Thomas closed. I went to another team. My father passed away, and that was a moment that altered my entire life forever and always, and for so many reasons.
Sure,
but it was one of those I stepped back and reevaluated and was I love teaching. I was called to be a teacher. I also want to get back in sports. Yes. And I took my father passed on Veterans Day, which is November 11th. I finished that school year and then I stepped away, and I dove head first into media. And so we chatted with the Chiefs for 6 years on the squad. A couple of those years, I started doing their sideline. I started doing digital hosting. I got myself in media and found out I really loved it. And so I was willing to make that my focus and my goal. And so through a turn of events, I was with Sporting for a year. I was in Wichita and had my a daily show, afternoon show on the NBC there. And then I came home and had a morning show here on 5. Right. I just loved it so much. Sharing stories of athletes, connecting the community, celebrating the community, small businesses, you name it. Those were all the things I got to share because I was an entertainment show. I was not news.
Right.
I will never be news. But where we are now, I left 5 last July.
Okay.
And it was with the intention of just getting heavier into current and growing that role.
Right.
But I also just had this, enough knowledge to know that women's sports is popping off. I want to get ahead of it.
Yes. Well,
Good for you.
And then also I wanted to share the stories that weren't being shared. So women,
Yes.
athletes, the sports, women in front office in sports, women in any type of role that could be sports. So I started a podcast on National Women and Girls in Sports Day, which is February 6th.
Okay.
Sophie Cunningham
Yes.
was my first guest.
I love that. That's so awesome.
It's called Sports and Shenanigans.
Okay.
And in the word shenanigans, you see she is
Okay.
very prevalent.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say
I
it's
love
where
it.
women's sports and pop culture collide, and my goal is really just to elevate women's sports and celebrate women in any role. It could be literally. I've had coaches on, I've had players on, I've had lots of leagues represented, and I'm so grateful. Commissioner of the Professional Volleyball Federation, just a plethora, kind of variety.
Right.
Congratulations,
but
and you were made for
thanks.
that, and I bet it's going to be huge.
You're very
And
kind.
No,
I
I
appreciate it.
guarantee you. I mean, you like your background, everything that you've gone through, everything that you've done and gone through. I mean, it sounds amazing. I mean, to have Sylvia is like your first. I'm like, we were each other's first guest.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And your relationship is so cool, and that's what makes this so nice, which is awesome. Mine's very interview style. So, and I think we chatted. I'm learning as I go. Like, I
Yeah.
come from TV, so
course.
broadcasting is very different.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm having fun, and it's being well received.
Yeah.
And I know you guys know this, but like, for example, back in March, Deloitte released a big article, and the headline was that women's sports revenue is expected to surpass $2 billion
Yes.
is insane.
in
Yes.
2025.
And
So
awesome.
it's like, okay, there's all the reason.
That's
Yes.
Talk
Well,
women's sports.
If you need anything from us anytime, like
very
yo,
kind.
like if you anything, any sport, you're going to be awesome. Thank you so much for taking your time,
Yeah,
and
of
it's so
course.
you're so busy. We want you to come on again sometime in the near future. We'd love
Maybe
to.
we just talk current, because we didn't even like really
Yeah.
talk
No, we
about
listen.
that.
No, you know what? Like, there's a we could like I would love to have Beck like a segment, like once a month, like to talk.
Just update you
keep
guys.
It, yes,
Yeah.
well, keep it out.
On the
I think
current,
it's,
I mean, on FIFA, on the World Cup.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
lots happening. And
I mean-
honestly, like the current, they are first in the league. They have a 5-point lead on everyone else. Like last year was incredible. This year, you've got to look out for them.
Yeah.
Like you've got to keep tabs. We have the MVP from last year, Golden Boot winner from last year. Like it's insane.
Right.
Yes,
So-
and we will get into that, and I'll reach out in some capacity to Angie. Like I said, we were. She went to Meadowbrook or Mission Valley. I went to Indian Hills, but same age, the same group
Same
of friends.
area, yeah.
Same group of folks, but in some capacity, Grant Wall was a dear friend of mine. Grant Wall was a Highland Hawk. I was a Highland Hawk.
Yeah.
He was a year older than me.
He's incredible.
Grant went to Highlands just a year
Highlands,
ahead of him, like
in
elementary,
Indian Hills,
junior high, high school. Like,
and
you know
even
him well.
as recent as we would message each other, in good spirit. Grant was someone who was bigger than life, and I started, knowing, his background, obviously, Angie at Princeton and what he was doing.
He's so close with Chris,
Yes,
even.
I mean, yeah, of course.
phenomenal, man. So rest in peace. He's a great kid.
100%.
Great kid.
But I used to think back in the day, he was one of the best college basketball writers.
He has a way
He
with
was
words.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal.
Well, and to be honest, he is one of the main reasons that women's soccer has grown the way it has because of his media attention.
Yes,
I love
and
it.
once
That's
again,
awesome.
and
That's
to-
awesome.
once again, when I said this earlier, like I watched the women's because I was constantly reading stuff from Grant. I was like, okay.
He was telling people to listen when they were not
Yes,
interested.
right.
And the
Yeah.
way he covered teams and the way he uplifted other broadcasters and journalists that covered the women's game, he is a big reason.
Yeah.
And that's the press box at CPKCC.
Yeah, and I need to come, on. There were so many of us, and especially because I went to elementary school with him. I was like, and it was somebody that I would play shoot hoops with on the basketball, on the basketball at recess, and he would always shoot lights out. He was a great kid and great family, but and the fact that he was as big as he was, and I would message him, and it wouldn't be 3 days, 5 days
No,
within the day to message me back, whether it was something. It was like it was. So it would mean everything to me to do something in his press box.
You know, his brother comes to games all the time.
Yes.
So I saw something on TV here just recently on one of the sports shows.
He's out there a lot.
Yeah, we definitely got to get out there. I said you got to reach out over there. See
Yes.
if we can't do a show over there at the Current, because that'd just be awesome.
Yeah.
But listen, thank you so much for coming on our show. It's not, we have a little. This is just a little gift for you. Just a little bit of swag.
You're very kind.
This
Thank
is
you.
just a little swag for you.
I love it.
We got the old throwback puffy lettering.
I love it.
We got the Love You Bro from Miss Jillian.
Very cool. Thank you.
One of our great sponsors here, Lula's Southern Cookhouse. We have a gift card for you and your husband to come back and do dinner here. So thank you to Lula's for what they do. Guys, we want you to follow us on X, follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Please go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, because without you guys, we can't bring amazing guests like Miss Jillian
100%.
Carroll on. Jillian, we're going to have you back on, because we have
100%.
so much more to talk about. And so much more.
Scratch the surface.
Yes.
That's fine.
No, it was great. Like we really did. Minnie, when Miss Jillian's making you run hills in this Love You Bro sweatshirt, don't ever even ask what another one. Just say yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, you walk on set.
They're like, what, Dad, what?
Yeah, right. Okay,
Just
thank
wait.
you so much. Once again,
Yes.
look forward to it. Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on our show, and we will be welcoming you back to come on
Thanks.
to talk more Casey Current. Good luck to the Current the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Thank
you.
We will be out there cheering them on. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be a part of Love You Bro podcast.
So much fun. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Great.
All right, guys, we'll catch you next week. We'll have a show with Ashton Maloney, and we got Scott Pioli coming on. So we will see you guys next week, but catch our show on Thursday with Miss Jillian Carroll. Thank you.